I have this little mini in today. It's going to be logged for Motorsport Ireland events. And the logbook's like a little passport that goes with the car to say it meets the scrutiny requirements for the events it's logged for. So we're going to get this car prepared to be logged for hill climbing and rally sprints. I'm just going to read down through Appendix 2 in the Motorsport Ireland rulebook, which is the scrutiny requirements for a car, just to make sure it meets all the scrutiny requirements.
The car already has a roll cage and a fire extinguisher you see there and a kill switch in it, but there needs to be a few things upgraded on it. Like the cage only has one door bar, but in all Motorsport Ireland disciplines that require roll cage, you must have two door bars. Also needs an extra diagonal bar in the back of the cage. I'll show you. It's a bit hard to see with the sun, but you have this bar here, which is the harness bar in the back of the roll cage. And what it needs also is a bar from down here at the back stays, going up at a 45-degree angle, up onto that's a diagonal bar in the back stays. It needs that for all Motorsport Ireland events that require a roll cage as well. I have the two door bars welded in now, and I got the back section welded in, the diagonal bar in the back. First thing on our list is on page one, headlamps. Number one, headlamps and driving lamps. We don't need lights in hill climbing, but in rally sprints, which is number one, two there, we have to have lights. So the first thing I'll do is check the lights. There, full beams, right indicator, brake lights, reverse light. So we've checked the headlights. We've done the brake lights and indicators. It actually has another heading just underneath subsection of brake lights for racing cars and rallycross cars. They need a rain light as well, but as this is only going to be logged for hill climbs and sprints, we don't need a rain light. The next section is steering, brakes and suspension. There's no discipline underneath that, so that's all disciplines have to comply with this. First thing I have to check is no free play in the steering and the steering feels good, which it does. And then we have to check is there steering lock. There is a steering lock, so that's going to have to be removed. You can't have a steering lock. I had a look around. There's not too much obvious signs of where the lock is. From what I can guess, it's underneath here, and you can sort of see the back where the lock would stick down and into the barrel. Wasn't too sure, so I did a bit of googling around, and I seen one lad cut this whole section off and took the lock out that way, so it is in there. So I'm going to attempt that. Try to cut this pin out. It pivots on this pin. It's a hardened steel pin in there. Pivots on that. So I'll take the dials out and I'll see about trying to cut this pin out here and take this whole mechanism out altogether. Before I get a grinder and try to cut this pin out, I'm actually going to get a hacksaw and cut this outer case here and see can I split that open and take it out sideways. So I don't really want to use a grinder in here because we're putting sparks everywhere. So I'll try the hacksaw there first. I think the only bit that's holding us in is that roll pin there. So I can't really lever it up off the roll pin. That bit just broke there. Got it. Will this just slide out now? That's it. That's the little lock. So just put the plastics back on this now, clean it up. What I'm going to do to cover up this hole that into the barrel so no dirt gets in there, I'm going to use this bit of aluminium that was holding the lock in. So I'm just going to put a bit of silicone on the back of that so it doesn't fall out and stick it back in there. That's the steering lock done. Pull the key out. No lock. Next thing on the list is brakes. Pedal feels fine. I'll just check for leaks now. I think could probably do with a new wheel nut. Brake pipes look good, look new enough. Discs look fairly new as well. And the pads look new. So all looks good this side. One thing I did notice when I was having a look underneath the car was this exhaust here. It's just like a coupler, the exhaust is sat into a coupler and it's not sealing that great at all. When I was bringing the car into the garage, I had it sitting outside idling for a few minutes. So I jumped into the car, it was fairly fumy. I'd say that's the problem there, so I'll have to look into that. The other thing I noticed is there's no silencer in the exhaust at all, and that is a requirement. So we might have to put a silencer in here somewhere. Also, when I am underneath here, there's a bolt missing from here. Brakes seem all good. I'm going to come back to the exhaust issue later on. Next on our list is wipers, washers, and horns and mirrors. We have mirrors, that's grand. Horn, I don't need horns for hill climbing and even for rallies and racing. You don't need them for rally sprints either. Washers and wipers. We'll check the wipers. Fuel tank. The fuel tank is standard in this car, and the straps seem good. It's all standard piping and everything looks good. So there's not really much to do with that. It's not located in the car with the driver or in the engine bay. It's all standard, so I don't really have to do anything with that. Next thing on the list is fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher, this car actually came with a fire extinguisher. It didn't have any date on when it was last tested or anything like that. So I went to get it tested, and then I noticed, I don't know if you can see that, but it's from 2008. So a fire extinguisher can't be tested if it's more than 10 years old. I had another one here, which is tested. It was actually tested this month, and it is 2016. So I'll put that into the car. I'm going to put the new extinguisher into the car. This is where the old one was. It only has one strap on it, and we actually need two straps. So I got another strap, but it's actually mounted in with tech screws into the floor, which isn't good enough. So I'm going to mount the fire extinguisher mount on this frame here, on its side like that. And I'll just check, make sure it fits in. There we go. Mounted securely and two straps on it. Next thing on the list is number 7, safety belts and harnesses. I really need the seats fitted to do that. And I'm going to put a bit of paint on the new bars in the roll cage to stop it corroding. Because I don't know when the customer's going to paint the roll cage, but it could be a while and the bars will go rusty. So I'm going to skip this. I'll put paint on the roll cage next, and I'll do some things like skip forward to the tone eyes and that sort of thing. Right, I have a bit of primer put in the cage, but that's waiting to dry. Back to this. So, number 7, seats and belts. We'll come back to that. And number 8, tires and wheels. They're standard archers, standard wheels in this car, so there's no wheels sticking out past any of the arches, so that's all fine. It's all standard. Number 9, noise control. I think we're going to have to put a silencer in this exhaust and fix that leak, so I'll come back to the noise control. So number 10, securing of equipment, including the battery. So we'll have a look at this. Positive air lead is covered on the battery. That's all right. Everything's tight. And there's a battery clamp on it. That's fine. Number 11, throttle closing. Each carburetor must have its own return spring. No carbs in this, standard, so that's fine. Number 12, warning triangles in all rallies. Not doing rallying, that's okay. LPG gas, nothing to do with us. General condition. It says here in the windscreen can only have 100 mil sun strip on top of the windscreen. I did measure that. It's 125 on the outside and it's about 95 on the inside. So that's up to the scrutineer who's logging the car if that's acceptable or not. Under the general conditions heading, there is a subsection for rally sprints, and it's saying door cards have to be made of at least 1 mil thick. But we have standard door cards in this car, so we're okay with that. Going on from that, aerodynamic devices. It's a standard car, there's no aerodynamic devices on it. Next on the list is number 15, firewall. You can't have any holes in between the engine bay and the driver's compartment, or the fuel tank in the driver's compartment, or even down onto the ground. It has sealed. And we'll have a look and see if there's any holes in it. I had a look in the bulkhead and it's all fine, there's no holes in it at all. The only thing I could find, there was a few holes like here, over here, and these tape marks and stuff. They're down to the floor of the car. Some were into the chassis legs. I'm just going to put tape back over them. The right thing to do would probably be put a rubber bung into them. They're not really too serious, but they are in the regs, so we're going to have to just tape them back up. So the firewall's done. Happy enough with that. Next on the list, 16, is ropes, rollover protection, the roll cage. We added the 2 extra bars into the doors and the diagonal bars, so that's all covered now. I done that first. So I'm happy enough with that. After that, it gets the helmets. So I don't have any of the gear here for that. So that's more scrutiny on the day sort of thing. Number 18, bonnet and boot fastenings. So the bonnet has 2 fastenings on it. This one here. And one over the far side as well. There's no latch on the bonnet, so once these are open, the bonnet can be opened. So the bonnet can be opened from the outside of the car. The boot is the same. I don't have fasteners yet for the boot. I'll have to pick up fasteners for the boot, and I'll disconnect the standard boot latch. On this car, the ignition has to be on for you to open the boot. So I'm going to change that so you can open the boot from the outside. So I'll have to come back to the boot fastener. The windscreen and windows. So it has to have a laminated windscreen, which it does. And then if you go further down to the anti-shatter film, you can either run polycarbonate windows, like a window kit for the car, or if it's standard glass, you have to put anti-shatter film on the glass. So I'm going to have to put anti-shatter film on this one now. So I think I'll do that next. That looks pretty good. You can't see it, it's pretty clear. You can just tell in about 3 mil from the edge, you can see where I cut along it, so there's a small line the whole way around the edge. But other than that, it's pretty good. Next on our list is headrest and seats. I have 2 seats to go into this car. Currently there's dates on the seats. International events, seats are dated for 5 years from brand new. And then in Irish national events, there's a 10-year extension. So from brand new, your seats are in date for 15 years. In hill climbing, in some of the classes, up to the saloon classes, up to 1.6, there's no date limit on the seat. So even after 15 years, the seat can still be used. And in rally sprints, there's no date limit on the seats. So these 2 seats could be out of date, but This one is actually brand new. It was bought before Christmas. And for international events, it's not valid after 2027. This was obviously manufactured in 2022. And this seat, which is the passenger seat, which you don't need in hill climbs, was made in 2006. So 15 years on that. It's out of date in 2021. But in rally sprints, there is no date in the seat. So once the seat's in good condition, it's okay. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to fit these rails to the seats and fit the seats in the car and see what way I need to fit them. I'm going to use the standard holes in the chassis that did mount the front seats to mount the new seats in it, the competition seats. One closest to the centre of the car is fine, that mounts fine, actually fits the brackets, which is fairly unusual. The one closer to the outside of the car, plan on using that as well. That's this one here and this one over here. That front one is fine, but the back one, the treads are gone. So I'm going to have to cut this washer off, cut the welds, take this washer off, fix the bolt in there, and then weld it back on again. All I've done is I cut the bit out of the floor and welded the nut to the back of the floating nut, fix the threads, put that back in and weld now. Before I put the seats and harness in, I need to put mounting eyes in for the harness clips. I'm going to put these brackets underneath the floor, screw this in through the floor of the car. I've drilled holes already in the floor. I just need to put these underneath and screw down into them. I have the passenger seat in there now. I was putting the bolt in the seat in, and there was a few bolts in the car from the driver's side seat because that was already in the car when I got it. And I've seen some of them are 8.8 grade, and this one is a 5.8 grade. If you're bolting in anything like seat brackets or to the seat in the regs, they have to be a minimum of 8.8. That's sort of something to look out for.
Now with the seats in, I'll get back to putting on the boot latches and taking off the rear boot lock.
Next on the list is general circuit breakers. The car has to have a kill switch in it that you can kill the car from the outside of the car. This car already had a kill switch in it. I'll show you now. This is the kill switch here. When you turn that lever, it kills the battery of the car, cuts the battery off, and it also kills ignition as well. It also has to be operated from outside the car as well. This is the little red handle. You pull that red handle and that kills that kill switch. The pull cord for the kill switch has to be marked with a sticker to highlight where it is. So I'm just going to put that sticker there. I think it's safe to say you're going to see the tow hook before you see the sticker. That's general circuit breakers done. Next on list 23 is clothing and overall. That's for the driver on the day. It's not really anything to do with the car, to be honest. Window webbing. We don't need window webbing as a run and close windows. If the window is open, we need window webbing. Sunroofs. This car has 25. We don't have sunroofs. But 26 is additional information for rallies, so that doesn't really apply to us. 27 is listing what disciplines you need a logbook for, and we need a logbook for rally sprints and hill climbs and sprints, which is what this car is going to be doing. Number 28 is eligibility. It's gone through fuels and different scrutiny rules. If you go down to 28.6 capacity checks, two sump securing bolts, one on each side, must be cross drilled to enable the sealing of the crankcase. So we're going to have to drill two sump bolts on this car. This car is a sump guard on either, so I'm going to get to the bolts. I'm going to have to take this off. See, there's lots of clay up here. It's going to be messy. The two bolts I got out were only barely held on by a thread and a half, and the other three bolts I can't move at all. I don't know, I might have to drill these or something. And they're stainless bolts, so this is going to be fun to drill. So what I have to do is drill the head of this bolt and drill the head of another one and put a wire through this into the other one and tie them together. So if anyone wants to seal the engine, they know which two bolts are drilled. I'm going to fix the exhaust now. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to chop that coupler off there that's leaking and weld V-bands on. So I'll cut it there, put V-bands on, and I'll weld this side to the original exhaust that's already there. And then on the rear exhaust, to put a silencer in it, I'm going to cut the last bit of the exhaust off and put a back box there and make the original hangers that are on that exhaust fit the back box. I have this V-band welded into the exhaust now, so that's going to be where the exhaust is going to split from now on. And this original coupler that slid over the exhaust, I'm just going to weld that to the original exhaust and seal it all up, and then we'll just split from here from then on. I have the exhaust back up and the back box hung in place on its hangers, so I've only just this bit to join up here. It's probably going to be harder than it looks. Eventually got the exhaust joined up, new back box joined up to the old pipe. Have where the blow was all welded up now and a V-band clamp on it. Last thing I'm going to do is weigh the car. It doesn't need to be weighed, but I decided I would.
That's everything this little mini needs now to be ready to be logbooked. Over the next couple of days, a scrutineer will call out and check the car over and give it a logbook, and then it'll be ready to compete in Motorsport Ireland events.